What's up, guys? We got some pretty cool news. The guys over at Silph Road, who do all the wonderful data mining having to do with the APKs, with the updates for Pokemon Go, and give us a lot of the information that they haven't released yet. So basically, they've come out and said in the last day or so is that they're pretty confident at this point that Niantic has taken out 6 or 7 of the more of a generic, crappy, common Pokemon, kind of like what they did with the whole Pidgey situation and Ratta's not coming out of eggs anymore. We'll get to which ones they are in a second. Also, there is what they're going to call a ultra rare Pokemon rarity for the eggs. But I'll get to that in a second. So basically what happened is that ever since the grass event, people over at Silph Road have done a whole lot of data mining and research, and they hatched 3,018 eggs to come up with this whole synopsis of what exactly is more likely to come out than not. And throughout all 3,018 egg hatches, these particular Pokemon didn't come out at all. Wooper, Natu, Sandshrew, Paris, Tentacool, and there was one more I forget completely. But who cares? It's a junk one anyway. So you will not see those anymore inside of the eggs. However, what you are going to see is a little bit of a different rarity coming to some of them. Now, for number one, let's just get to the point with Dratini. Dratini is still coming out of a 10-kilometer egg, which is cool. However, the only problem now is that it's going to be a little bit more rare. They've kind of moved it from the common rarity in 10-kilometer eggs to uncommon. So it used to be where you were more likely than not to get a Dratini coming out of a 10-kilometer egg. However, now it's kind of moved off that. So you can see up here on the screen, I posted it for you guys. This is pretty much what comes right off their website, having to do with the different species and the percentage and the rarity and so on. So pretty much, you can see there with the 2-kilometer eggs, it's pretty much the common ones with 3% for each 8 out of 257 that they hatched and so on. Poliwag and Geodude, and pretty much everybody that everybody kind of assumes is going to pop out there. Uncommons with all the starter Pokemon and so on, Squirtle and Charmander, Rhydon, Igitor, all the babies. We kind of already knew that. The funny one that actually comes up with this entire thing has to do with, even though it's listed up here as uncommon, keep in mind that this is kind of the rarity situation. It's not telling you exactly what egg they come out of. So even though you might see Dratini up there having to do with that whole uncommon, keep in mind it does only come out of a 10-kilometer egg. So it's a little bit, like a lot of them you'll see up there, they only come out of 10-kilometer eggs. So let's just keep that in mind before anybody goes crazy and says that doesn't make any sense to anyone. Because at first I kind of had to look at it twice myself. But you can see this is basically the commonality of them coming out of eggs. They should have maybe made that a little bit more specified. But you can see like Onyx, Chansey. Together they've actually upgraded from a common to uncommon, as well as certain other ones like Lapras, obviously 10-kilometer egg, Snorlax, Aerodactyl, and so on. Your typical ones. Now, the real point of the whole thing is that they're considering what's called an ultra rare group. Now, the reason being, and they don't have definitive proof of this, but with all their egg hatchings, there's just certain ones that came out so infrequently, it was ridiculous. Like to the point where they have no definitive proof, even after 3,018 eggs. One is going to be Shuckle, Wobbuffet, Sunsprance, and Geofair. I always say that name wrong. They're considered what's called like ultra rares. None of them are really that good anyway, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense why they would do that. But that's pretty much what it's coming down to. I would have assumed that maybe Aerodactyl, Snorlax, something like that, they would bump up to a ultra rare. I'm talking about Niantic, not Silph Road, obviously. But so what does this mean for everybody out there? Honestly, not much. I mean, most things have pretty much stayed the same. You're more likely than not to get certain Pokemon in comparison to others. Again, you hatch 10-kilometer eggs these days. You're more likely than not to to get Gen 2 10 kilometers in comparison to getting a Snorlax or an Aerodactyl, because when Generation 2 came out, they upped the rarity severely on all of them. You can still get them, but it's very, very, very difficult. I myself went through like 20 10-kilometer eggs, and I didn't get one Generation 1 rare like a Snorlax or an Aerodactyl. It's actually pretty ridiculous and stupid if you ask me. Mainly because all the, I guess you want to call them rare Generation 2s, besides like Tyranitar, suck. It's just the way it is. That's why I said I've kind of been a I don't want to say a negative person when it comes to Generation 2, because there was some cool stuff that comes out of it. But if you compare it to like with Generation 3 when that comes out, I mean, you're talking about apples and oranges. You're talking about kindergarten in comparison to like badass high school. Like, it's just very, very different. So, but it was a pretty cool update for them to get the information out to us, especially with everything that's going on having to do with the summer update. As we've said before in the last video, there's supposedly going to be legendaries coming out. Whether or not it's going to be one or all four, I'm betting on all four, because I don't think there's enough time to only have one come out, which is still, again, I understand this is a long-term situation with the game, but the idea that still only one shiny has been released still boggles my mind. I would have assumed they would have done something like one shiny per event. I don't know. For all I know, they could release all the shinies and all the legendaries and all the lands of the world when this new thing comes out with the new gym mechanics and everything, but I don't see it. I mean, they're really going to stretch this sucker out. I mean, at this point, with the rate that they're releasing certain things, I mean, literally at this point, it's taken them 1 year to release even one legendary Pokemon. A year. So at this rate, they'll be so backed up that they'll have gone through every single iteration and generation of the game and still probably have about half the legendaries left to release if they released one a year. It's almost about as ridiculous as it can get. So I have to assume they're going to be releasing more than one. They better... All I'm saying is Mewtwo better be one of them. I'm sick and tired of waiting for this guy. I mean, he was in the trailer, for God's sake, where they were talking about raids, and you saw it in the screen with Times Square and all that jazz. So that better be part of this whole thing. But anyway, guys, that's it for me. Please hit that like button. Please hit subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.